Hello, welcome back to Liberty Man. Today is September the 17th, 2021. This is Constitution Day for the year. In my state, to my knowledge, there is no statewide recognition of this day. Why? I don't have a say-so in it. Nonetheless, I'm going to do my part and let you know what the last founding father had to say about what it was they did and why they did it and how they came about with the Constitution and what it means to us today. This is something that we need to know because they said they did it for posterity. And the word posterity means for generations to come. I mean, right now at Christmas, there will be 3 generations of my posterity, myself, my children, and my grandchildren. A little over a year ago, when we would have Christmas, or 2 Christmases ago, there would have been 4 because of my mother-in-law was part of it. So that's what posterity means, is from generation to generation. This Constitution was giving for all to last in perpetuity. It wasn't just a fleeting thing. So we're going to look at why they did it, the reason behind it, not the specific details, but the why they did the thing. So I think you'll enjoy this. So on the 50th anniversary of the ratifying of the Constitution in the convention in 1787, this was 1837 when this speech was made. Therefore, their charter, America's charter, was the Declaration of Independence. Their rights, the natural rights of mankind, their governments, such as should be instituted by themselves under the solemn mutual pledges of perpetual union, founded on the self-evident truths proclaimed in the Declaration. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. This act was the complement to the Declaration of Independence, founded upon the same principles, carrying them out into practical execution and forming with it one entire system of national government. The Declaration was a manifesto to the world of mankind. In the history of the human race, this had never been done before. The motive for the Declaration of Independence was on its face and owed to be a decent respect for the opinions of mankind. Its purpose to declare the causes which impelled the people of the English colonies on the continent of North America to separate themselves from the political community of the British nation. They declare only the causes of their separation, but they announce at the same time their assumption of the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them among the powers of the earth. Thus, their first movement is to recognize and appeal to the laws of nature and to nature's God for their right to assume the attributes of sovereign power as an independent nation. The causes of their necessary separation, for they begin and end by declaring it necessary, alleged in the Declaration are all founded on the same laws of nature and of nature's God, and hence, as preliminary to the enumeration of the causes of separation, they set forth as self-evident truths, the rights of individual man by the laws of nature and nature's God, to life, to liberty, to the pursuit of happiness, that all men are created equal, that to secure the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuits of happiness, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. All this is by the laws of nature and of nature's God, and of course presupposes the existence of a God, the moral ruler of the universe, and a rule, of right and wrong, of just and unjust, binding upon man, preceding all institutions of human society and of government. It avers also that governments are instituted to secure these rights of nature and nature's God, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of those ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute a new government, to throw off a government degenerating into despotism, and to provide new guards for their future security. They proceed then to say that such was then the situation of the colonies, and such the necessity which constrained them to alter their former systems of government. In conclusion, the representatives of the United States of America in General Congress assembled, appealing to the supreme judge of the world for the rectitude of their intentions, do in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. The appeal to the supreme judge of the world and the rule of right and wrong as paramount events to the power of independent states are here again repeated in the very act of constituting a new sovereign community. And thus we consummated the work, and thus was consummated the work commenced by the Declaration of Independence, a work in which the people of the North American Union, acting under the deepest sense of responsibility to the supreme ruler of the universe, had achieved the most transcendent act of power that social man in his mortal condition can perform. The Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States are parts of one consistent whole. Let me read that again. The Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States are parts of one consistent whole. The United States of America, constituted and organized under a government founded on the principles of the Declaration of Independence, was to hold her course along the lapse of time among the civilized potentates of the earth. And now the future is all before us, and Providence our guide. Fellow citizens, the ark of your covenant is the Declaration of Independence. Your Mount Ebal is the Confederacy of Separate State Sovereignties, and your Mount Gerizim is the Constitution of the United States. In that scene of tremendous and awful solemnity narrated in the Holy Scriptures, there is not a curse pronounced against the people upon Mount Ebal, not a blessing promised them upon Mount Gerizim, which your posterity may not suffer or enjoy from your and their adherence to or departure from the principles of the Declaration of Independence, practically woven in the Constitution of the United States. Lay up these principles then in your hearts, and in your souls bind them for signs upon your hands, that they may be as frontlets between your eyes. Teach them to your children, speaking of them when sitting in your houses, when walking by the way, when lying down, and when rising up. Write them upon the doorplates of your houses and upon your gates. Cling to them as to the issues of life. Adhere to them as to the cords of your eternal salvation. So may your children's children at the next return of this day of Jubilee, after a full century of experience under your national constitution, celebrate it again in the full enjoyment of all the blessings recognized by you in the commemoration of this day, and of all the blessings promised to the children of Israel upon Mount Gerizim as the reward of obedience to the law of God. Now, I know that's a mouthful to most of you, but that's the truth of America. I've taught before, and I'll reiterate it again, that the legal definition of the laws of nature and nature's God comes directly from the law book of their day, which was Blackstone's Commentaries of the Laws of England. We were British, so we were using British law, British Constitution law as our foundation for separation, just like people are arguing our rights and our Constitution today are being violated by our government. Back then, they were saying, this is why we're leaving. This is why you're breaking the Constitution. And they quoted the scripture to tell them why. I can't make this stuff up, folks. Read my book. It's all in there. But the laws of nature and nature's God is a legal phrase with a legal definition. Summation is, and a simple summation of it is, no human law is valid if it contradicts what is plainly written in the Old and New Testaments of the Holy Bible. Any human law that contradicts these is void and must be disobeyed. The Declaration of Independence and the consequent, the convention for the Constitution, both of those Congresses and those conventions for the Declaration and the Constitution have been proven by historians over and over again that they were the greatest ecumenical councils ever seated in the history of the world. And John Quincy Adams reiterated it over and over again, that the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence and the laws of nature and nature's God, only contained in the scriptures of the Old and New Testaments of the Holy Bible, are the only rule of faith and practice for not only man, but also for mankind in their political sphere. So with that in mind, right back there, it says that resistance to tyrants is obedience to God. So if we don't know what God says about government and what God says about a society and all of those things that the children of Israel had to figure out in order to become the nation of Israel instead of just 13 wandering tribes, They had to have a system and form of government, which was instituted by God and inculcated into our constitutional system. So, with that in mind, enjoy your day. God bless you. And hopefully, you learned something today. But more importantly, look at where we are today and decide for yourself. Do we have good government and are our people happy? Because that is why governments are instituted, is so that our government can be good, to protect our God-given rights, and that our people are happy. And if we're not, then we have the right to abolish our government and start over. Fortunately, in our country, we have a constitution that allows us to do that in such a simple way as changing the people that we elect to represent us in our offices of government. That's how we change our government these days. It's not by getting rid of the document, because this document will stand the test of time. It's already stood longer than any other government document in history. It's because we haven't been taught what it means, and the things that I just shared with you there about how it's united with the principles of the Declaration of Independence. And then go back and look at our video on 9/11 and its relationship to the Declaration of Independence, because the founders of America said that the Declaration of Independence is indissolubly linked with the birth of the Savior and his message to mankind. So God bless, enjoy your day, and look forward to seeing you next time.